Joel and Arthur Arthur Nielsen's in the house somewhere too, ladies and gentlemen. Your dad was awesome. Like, he dressed to the nines. You know, he was so professional on and off stage. And obviously, you know, how you handle your band, you know, you learned a lot about presence and how to talk to your fans.
Oh yeah, I mean, I learned pretty much everything from my dad. He was, to this day, now that I've traveled all around the world and seen lots of artists perform, my father to me still is the best performer, entertainer that I've ever seen on stage.
Amen.
And I've seen a lot of people at this point.
Yeah. In 1985, ladies and gentlemen, Alligator Records, we have Bruce Eaglar as a guest during the course of this weekend, the president of Alligator. Johnny teamed up with fellow Texan Albert Collins and newcomer Robert Cray. The grouping created one of the finest guitar collaboration in the history of recorded blues music. It's called Showdown, everybody.
Yeah!
And it won a Grammy Award. It also earned its place in the Blues Foundation's Hall of Fame for recordings. Johnny went to Blues Heaven July 3rd, 1997, too young at the age of 60.
It's all about the music! Yeah!
So John, you know, he's always with us. You know, we think about him all the time. You know, I think he's up in heaven right now talking trash with all the people, Coco and company.
Yeah!
I think that Johnny's proudest accomplishment in life is this girl sitting right here. We started making Shemeka's first album, Turn the Heat Up, when she was 17. And her dad had just had a transplant probably about 5 months before. So he only had an opportunity to hear maybe the first 4 cuts that we did. But, you know, one of them was a song that he had made famous called Ghetto Child.
Yeah!
And which Shemeka continues to have as part of her performance. And I remember we played it for him in the hospital, and he listened to it. And normally Johnny would listen to something, and at that stage he'd have a lot of suggestions. But that day in the hospital, he listened to it, and he turned to Shemeka, and he just said, "You did good, baby. You did good." So, you know, he was one of the finest men I've ever met. I considered him to be my brother. He was always just so incredibly generous to everybody, the way Bobby and Joel have talked about. In the beginning of Shemeka's career, I started writing songs. Now remember, up until that point, the only person who'd been writing songs for her was him. And you'd think, being a father and all that stuff, that he would be maybe not too cool with somebody else coming along and writing songs. But he just always gave me nothing but encouragement. And I said, you know, I just hope that someday I'll be able to write a song as good as you. And he said to me, "Who knows, John, maybe you already did." Well, I didn't, but it gives you an idea of what his heart and what his spirit is like, and why we're all here today.
Right. Bobby, in 1993, one of my great memories was the Chicago Blues Festival, where you guys headlined in the Petrillo stage in front of tens of thousands of people. And that show was so electric. I think Joe Guitar Hughes was on stage with. Do you remember who was on the stage that night?
Yeah, that was Joe Guitar Hughes playing with us. Randy Lippincott on the bass.
Yeah,
Randy was the band leader, kept everybody in line, you know, kept the honoriness out of the group. Jammo, Barry Harrison on drums.
Yeah, Barry.
Floyd Phillips on piano.
The great Floyd Phillips.
Floyd was a true gentleman, and just like Johnny, they grew up together.
Yeah.
They grew up together in Texas in the 3rd Ward, and Johnny brought Floyd up to Harlem, and had him in the band. So we had a horn section from Chicago, and Joe Guitar Hughes. That was the lineup for that show.
Wow. That was incredible. That's incredible. I mean, that had to feel so good, because I listened to a recording a few years back of that, and I was so lucky to be there live, and God, it's awesome.
Well, Johnny headlined Montreux in Switzerland. Traveling with Johnny was a treat, because you got to meet so many different fans and play in such great venues, major festivals, San Francisco Blues Festival, all over the world.
Yeah.
And we'd be exhausted. We'd drive from New York City to the Golden Gate Bridge non-stop. We just stopped for gasoline. We had 2 tanks. And we'd just take turns driving, and we'd get out of the van, and we'd get on stage, and Clyde would hit it like he'd been there all week, ready, waiting and ready, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the musicians that Clyde would bring into the studio, on the stage, everywhere from Albert Collins to Dr. John, like John Hahn was saying, Joel Perry coming and sitting in when we were in New York City, the Uptown Horns. That to me was a great blessing and experience, and they're all good friends to this day. And Johnny on stage would always open his arms to embrace everybody, and he did embrace everybody. That was the most impressive thing for me, for Johnny.
Joel, was there 1 or 2 performances that stuck out with your years with Johnny?
Well, I think really he gave his all every single performance. To me, he never, like, every time he got up there, he gave 100,000,000%, and you had to be ready for him. The first time I ever played with him, I was playing behind him, and I was watching him play, and it was in a club, a small club, up in what do you call it, New England, and he was playing hard. We were going on the 2nd set. And I thought I was going to have a heart attack. The music was so powerful. I mean, literally, I thought I was going to drop dead right there. The music was really strong. And I'm looking at Johnny, and the sweat's coming down. But I noticed that he's relaxed. His body is relaxed. He's playing hard. The music is hard. Everybody's having a good time. Everyone's really getting into it. But his body is relaxed. And I said, that's the secret. I got to learn how to do that, how to get right with him with there, you know? And then when I figured that out, that to me would help me to play with him. So every time he gave 100%. And one time in Africa, we were playing in the Sahel in the desert, at the USIA tour, and it doesn't rain, of course, in the desert. And you know what? It started to rain, and the people were so delighted because they hadn't had rain. And, you know, I still think that we had something to do with that. And it was a great thing.
You know, Joel, that's one thing with Johnny, too. First time I played with Johnny, I remember sitting backstage with him, and I said, so Clyde, what do you want to play? And he goes, we're going to play the blues. I said, well, is there anything I should know? And he says, no. What song are we going to do? And he would never, ever tell you what he was going to play. He would just hit a note, and you had to have your radar on, and you had to know every song inside out, because you never knew what he was going to do. And that was the same with recording the records. You'd show up in the studio. What song are we going to record, Johnny? I don't know yet. So, that's true. Johnny was that way.
So do you want to hear some music? All right, I'm getting the hell out of here.
So who's going to be on stage with you, baby?
Everybody.
One last thing. A token of our appreciation, the Pocono Blues Festival would like to present to Shemekia and her family this picture of Johnny Copeland from this festival in 1994. Get your cameras out, ladies and gentlemen.